For 1 second, you are live now.
Okay. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Board of Port Warding on Tuesday, June 27th, and it'll be called at 7:01. Let's go to roll call. In attendance tonight are myself, Harold Siegel, Jonathan McCott, Jared Lerner, and Scott Anderson. We also have the people from the city, our attorney Carrie and Kimberly, Madeline and Brian. So we certainly have a quorum, which is great. And we are 4 out of 5, but the 5th will be sworn in, and then we'll have all 5, which will make us be able to achieve a quorum easily every time. Hopefully, knock on wood. All right. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the prior agenda at this time. And I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
A motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, administrative element. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from May 23rd, 2023. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve minutes from the May 23 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll get that motion.
Okay. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed state no. All right, the motion passes with all saying aye. All right, the next item agenda are the findings of fact from the May 23rd, 2023 meeting. The first one and the only one in the findings of fact is Port 2023-00007, and it's Timothy Newberry, 7th Island Lane. It was to repair existing 23.5 by 20.5 boathouse and replace 12-inch wide by 12 feet wide by 35 feet wide long pier, replace 67 linear feet of bulkhead, backfill bulkhead with 40 cubic yards of clean fill. Is there any discussion for this? Scott?
Nope.
Okay, great. No, you came up as a green window, so I thought you might have said something. Okay, fantastic. All right, is there a motion to approve the written findings of fact?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Scott Anderson seconded that. Harold made the motion. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 All right, all those opposed, please state no. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Let's move to old business. All right. The next item on the agenda, this old business, is Port 2023-00002. Brian Sweeney, it's 25.5 Eastern Avenue, and it was installed a 6.5 inch wide by 35.72 long pier with a platform and a finger and a 10-foot long side mount lift. Anyone planning to testify, please raise your right hand. Lauren, all right. Let me go ahead. You do solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give to the Port Wardens is whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right. As a preliminary matter, the board will accept into record the application packet and staff report for planning and zoning and public comments. Let me confirm with Brian. Are there any public comments?
There are none.
Okay. All right. So applicant and consultant, Lauren, do you want to go ahead and lay out what you've done?
Sure. Yes. Good to see everybody again. If you were here last month, we had discussions around the side mount lift and the beam of the boat. We did make changes to the plans to accommodate the appropriate width of of the boat owned by the Sweeneys. That updated plan was submitted to your office, and that's what you should have in front of you, which should take care of the issues and concerns that Mr. Shapiro had last hearing.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I guess I have some questions just to begin with, and then we'll turn it off over to the other port wardens. Just confirming, you proposed the 7-foot 4-inch distance from the setback primarily because the Key West 176, that's the beam of the boat. That's what you stated in the last meeting. On the same exact page, which is page 4 of 6 of your application, it's odd because I see pilings marked for 23 Eastern Avenue, which I believe you worked on that application. Yet I see no pilings marked on the application, on this application, the one for 25 and a half. Where are those pilings going? So again, if you look at page 4 of 6.
It's a side, so the lift goes off of the side of the pier. It doesn't have outside poles.
So
Small lift.
are you saying the lift tracks don't get attached to pilings?
No. I'm saying that there aren't outside pilings on this particular lift.
I fully understand that. Where, if you look at, for example, the one you produced for 25, which is on this, if you look to the right on page 4, you show 2 pilings. One at the end of the pier and one where the platform begins. You notice that? The little circles?
Yes, I see that.
Okay,
Yep.
but I don't see any of those on this drawing.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
so what are the diameter? I assume they're going in the same general location as your 25. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
That's accurate. Yeah.
Okay, what are the diameter of those pilings? 10, 12, 8, what?
I'm not sure. That would be up to the contractor or in conjunction with the owner.
Okay,
Typically
so,
8-inch pilings to 12-inch butt pilings. It would depend on what the contractor would recommend.
okay, and wasn't that submitted, Brian, to building?
It shows, if I may, it shows that the piles will be 8 inches other than the butt piles on diameter.
Okay, where are you saying?
5.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that on the plans.
That's
I saw
the
something in
next
reference
page.
to a 10-inch. What?
That's the next page, I believe.
Page 5, yep.
Okay. All right. And so are they jutting out from the docks at all? I assume halfway?
It's possible. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. So what about the tracks for the lift? Have you calculated that in?
I don't understand.
I guess what are you
I'm just trying to make sure the
driving at?
7 foot 4 inches does not protrude. It gives them enough space. If you look at what I'm sharing right now,
Yeah.
that's the side cut of the Mini Mag 2800, which I believe is what you indicated they were getting.
Yes,
Okay. So if you, I don't know if you see my mouse. Do you see my mouse?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So according to Magnum, they need a good 10 to 12 inches to install the tracks. And then, of course, the will protrude beyond the dock. So the question I have is, did you calculate that into the 7 foot 4 inches? I mean, we want to make sure we honor the setback appropriate.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things about applications that talk about similar or in kind or not to scale or typical piling. I don't know if that, helps with the
Well-
accuracy of where it's placed. And it wouldn't be a big deal if we had plenty of space for a setback. I mean,
Well,
most
there,
applications- Yeah.
are there no outside piles being installed?
There's no outside poles being installed.
So that would lead me to believe that that's not an issue.
Well, the slip is defined in anywhere a vessel is covering,
Yes.
whether it's elevated or it's actually floating in the water.
And
So
what's the,
I just
and what's the beam of the boat?
7 foot 4 inches.
Okay.
So if there needs to be a calculated extra amount to not cut into the setback, I mean, I thought we were going to go the direction of trying to get the neighbor, as the other port warden had pointed out, that 15-18-100B would allow this homeowner to have no problem with possibly extending over the setback.
Yeah, I was not able to get a letter of no objection, Mr. Shapiro. I also wanted to add that the Sweeneys have a boat slip at Horn Point. Like they've rented a slip for their boat at Horn Point. So I don't know if that helps with this case. I mean, they can just continue to keep their boat at Horn Point if that's helpful.
Now, all the piles on that dock are going to be in the same alignment, correct? On that side of the lift, right?
You mean the finger pier, et cetera?
Yes.
The
Yeah,
finger
finger pier,
pier
et cetera. Right? Out to the platform
I would assume yes.
as general building practices for marine docks.
Yes.
But typically those piles are recessed
By
into-
about half, right?
depends on how, well, it's probably about 18 inches, not 18 inches. Depends on if it's 8 or 10-inch piles, which even then is still going to be recessed inside that line.
Right, but I hear what
And
you're
the boat,
saying.
the boat
It's
has
hard to
a
get
beam
to
of 7.4.
3-inch dock with a 10-inch piling consuming. I'm sorry, a 3-foot dock with a 10-inch piling.
But it's going to be
I think-
inside of that. It's going to be outside of that 7 feet 4 inches. Follow me? So that 7 feet 4 inches will still be there.
Okay, and what about the width of the track and the structure needed for the lift?
Well, as we said, those piles that will be attached to are going to be along that line where it's 14 and 10 inch was 28 inches or 24 feet something, right?
Yeah, 24. Yeah, 24.
With some change,
28. Yeah.
right? And the poles will be recessed into that.
Right, and are you seeing what I'm sharing, Scott?
No, I'm not seeing what you're sharing. No, hold on.
Okay.
All right, there we go. Yep.
So this is the manufacturer's recommended install.
Right. So it's about 4 inches.
So no, they claimed it was 10 to 12 inches needed for this track, this box, and the piling partially protruding.
It is, but that piling is fixed, and the it's recessed enough so that it's flush with the dock. It does need that much, but it's going to be it's inside the decking.
Not this track material.
No, it's not. It's on the outside of the pile.
Right,
So what you're
and
actually
there's
looking
half
at
of
is
the
an actual-
piling, at least according to the manufacturers.
Right. The
So-
track that you see is going to be. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be.
Right, and you see the piling here? So I'm just, again, I'm not
Wondering
trying
if you can recess or affix the track to just that outside face of the pole, move the pole all the way in. I mean, that's obviously a standard depiction there. and contractors can make modifications during the install. I
hear what you're saying. I'm just curious. It seems to be that tight, literally the beam of the boat, and not showing a pilot and not showing the actual construction. I mean, it just strikes me that it's lacking a few details to make sure we're not cutting in to the neighbor who you were not able to get, as far as I can, discern from what you said. We haven't gotten a waiver.
We have established, Chairman, we have established that there will be no outside piles, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But I talked to the harbor master because I was curious about the definition of a slip, and she pointed out that anywhere a boat is covering, if it protrudes into the setback, which is one of our major elements within our title, is the compliance with the setback. I just wanted to sort of make sure because it was literally right up against the line. So
was the neighbor contacted to get a no contest, so to speak, letter?
We were not able to get a letter of no objection from the neighbor.
But they did not send a letter
from the neighbor.
But they didn't object.
We couldn't get a letter from them. So if the question is, were we able to get a letter of no objection to encroach into the setback? We were not able to get that letter.
Did you attempt to get a letter?
Yes, my clients, the Sweeneys, did attempt to get a letter. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I mean, we're working with such a small space here that we reduced the size of the width of the platform, shifted everything over, and definitely, we were trying to accommodate the last request and conversation that we had about this. And that was what, this updated plan was in the spirit of that last conversation.
Okay, which I believe ended with the best approach forward was the letter. Okay, let me go ahead. I guess let me involve all the other sort of port wardens. Harold, do you have any particular questions? We lost you,
It was a
Harold.
little difficult seeing from the chart there, from the picture. I'm sorry, you got me there?
Yeah.
Am I on?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Did you or did you not decrease or increase the distance from the lateral line?
We increased the distance away from the lateral line. So we moved further away from the neighbor with all of the structures. So platform, finger pier, and lift were all moved over away from
and boat. And
Yeah.
boat.
Yes.
But you didn't calculate the lift into the move, the actual track of the lift.
So I hear what you're saying, and I'm hoping that because of this area is so tight. I mean, this is one of the more narrow properties, and you guys have seen come across. There's certainly narrower properties in the city of Annapolis, but yeah, I believe that there's a way to install the side mount lift and not encroach into the 5-foot setback area. So I see the standard spec that Mr. Shapiro, that you put in front. That is definitely a standard schematic to let everybody understand what these typically look like. I we've made every effort to try to move as far away from that setback as possible, given the exact direction that we got
When
from the
you,
last.
when you say effort, was that effort accomplished? Did you actually move everything over enough so that you did not encroach on the setback? And that includes the lift and the boat
And the pilot.
and the piling.
It was my thought that yes, that was what was accomplished here, but that's yes, that's yes.
You know, she did do what she was asked by the Wardens.
So sorry.
I believe you did what we spoke about last month, correct? That's what we're talking about.
Yes, I made an attempt to get a letter of no objection. I was accounting for the exact beam of this vessel that was documented in the application. I moved everything over. Yes, I've tried to make every effort to comply here.
Were you successful? When you say you attempt doesn't give us the answer. Once again, it sounds like you did move everything over to allow for the appropriate distance from the lateral line, which includes the piling, the boat, and the lift. Was that accomplished?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
But it's not showing on the application. There are no pilings shown in that
There are no
location.
pilings.
What?
The
There's-
pilings. Go ahead.
There's no outside pilings. What I'm trying to convey is that I understand you're talking about the lift apparatus, Mr. Shapiro, and the tracks. It's my belief that the installer and the contractor can work together to inset the poles to allow for enough room for those tracks and still not encroach into the setback area. I understand that there's the schematic that you're looking at, the spec sheet, the lift spec sheet that shows standard dimensions.
Right. Well, what I'm looking at is the consultant's work that went to buildings, the actual sort of planning and zoning and the building, and that's what made me say, wow, I don't understand. You show pilings on the neighbor, but you're not showing any pilings on this 25 and a half. And then the manufacturer of your track says it has to have a certain amount of exposed piling. Now, it may be inset. I understand what Scott's saying. But it still has the track and the box that protrudes. So they said you need 10 to 12 inches. And
So
that's just, I'm just trying to, I mean, I normally don't look this tightly, but it's so close to the setback that it makes me, the lack of actual mooring being drawn in as you did for the other one. And again, I'm not talking about the outer poles. I'm talking about if you look at that same,
So the box,
yeah.
the control box you refer to, the control box in which you refer to, is not going to affect it's a lifting mechanism that will probably be higher than where the boat rests once it's lifted up,
Right.
based on the drawing.
I agree, but we still have the rail and the actual.
And what's the width of that rail? What's the width of that rail?
Yeah. Again, what the manufacturer said is they need 10 to 12 inches from the pipe.
I think that's
That's not what I read.
a standard, like a standard spec that like from Magnum Boat Lifts Unlimited's website. Like those specs get tied into these permit applications all the time, and then contractors can make changes in the field
Okay.
during the installation to accommodate for special conditions or circumstances or requests made by the owner in, particular, pile diameter, or in this case, obviously, we want to be mindful of that setback line.
Okay. All right. Jonathan, sorry. You have
Yeah.
any comments, questions? I guess.
The part that we're hung up on is where that piling is going to go and how far it's going to be recessed in the finger pier to accommodate the track so that the boat will fit, right? And that I don't see that level of like detail in the construction plan. And I'm not sure if we normally have that level of detail as to how far these things are recessed, or because the construction plan looks, kind of generalized,
From my experience, that's what that's what made me look at this, was the lack of actually detail, and especially the detail that was put into on the same application as this, the 25, how it shows the mooring pile half inset. I still saw some generalities about the mooring pile diameter. But that's actually, yeah, Jonathan, I'm used to looking at actually a little more full detail, not generalized detail.
okay.
It's my belief that the contractor can recess these piles and inset these piles to accommodate your concerns. So I don't think that I hear what you're saying about the track. I hear what you're saying about the spec sheet. And I do believe that the contractor can accommodate, framing and decking this section of the platform and finger pier to still allow for utilization of the side mount lift, installation of the track appropriately, given the fact that there's this lot is so narrow, and we're trying to maximize the space. The platform has been reduced in size, smaller than the allowed 200 square feet. So they lost some platform area, but that's okay. We're not encroaching into setback. My clients went to the neighbor. We were not able to obtain a letter of no objection. So I'm hoping that,
And I'd also like to point out, if I may, the boat itself will be resting on bunks on that lift. The gunnels of that boat are going to be wider than the bottom. So as such, I think the difference is going to be made up there somehow. You know what I mean? And like she said, it's customary practice to measure from the outside to the inside to get the length of the boat to make sure that you're in compliance when you do docks.
Okay. Any other Port Warden questions or comments?
No.
Okay, all right. I declare
Hopefully,
the public hearing on Port 2023-0002 address closed. I'll entertain. I guess the Port Wardens, there's the criteria set out in our code. And the question is, does the application fulfill the criteria set within the code? And that's what we have to be thinking about, the code in particular with this one, It does well. It's not obviously in the harbor line. It's not obviously, it's built to standard, as far as sustainable and lasting materials, all the other elements we focus in. I have questions as the way it's submitted as to whether it complies with 15.18.100, which is the lateral line setback, which are the two, all of the criteria we have to abide by matter, but the two that always stand out to me, because we want to make sure the neighbors are, well, I mean, that's the whole point of setbacks, is to sort of help and make sure everyone's on track with that. And anywhere it's setback or harbor line sort of hones in for me. So the question is, does it comply with 15.18.100? So I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the application of Port 2023-0002, Brian Sweeney, 25.5 Eastern Avenue. Is there I can't make the motion. I'll entertain the motion. I'm sorry.
I do have one comment I'd like to make first. If there's no, the neighbor is neutral. They don't care either way, it seems like. If it was the bill, they would have responded versus all this from last month. And Gary?
Sorry, Scott, you broke up every fifth word.
Okay, so let me try this again.
Yeah.
Let's make this again. She could not get a letter of approval, but also they didn't send a letter of denial or objection to construction.
Well, for the record, that lateral setback, it requires a no objection obtained adjacent. So it doesn't allow us to deviate from the actual code. Okay, it means the onus is on the neighbor to provide a letter of no objection. We don't take the lack of no objection as permission.
No, I don't think we can. If somebody says nothing, then I believe that they are then relying on the letters of the law to do exactly what the law says. Not replying is, in my mind, in effect, an objection. You can't assume that there's not an objection. You must assume that there is one, and therefore they must rely exclusively on our decision based on what the law says and what the statute says. So, and at this point, I think I got pretty good by asking the question from Mr. Heinzen that she affirmed that with the distances, including the piling, the lift, and the boat, that it was within the letter line, because she said it was. If it isn't exactly on the document, well, okay, I think the document is off a little bit. Yeah, it could have been more clear. But she's affirmed that it will be, and that it is. And so we have to take it under her word at this point that that's the case. I mean, I have no other way of determining it.
Okay.
In the construction plan at the bottom, there's a note that said this is not an engineer drawing. Deviations may exist. So, the setting back the track and I mean, I guess we can assume that that's a deviation that could happen. That's just not included in the drawing. But I guess we would like better drawings, but I think we have the testimony from Lauren that everything will be within the setback.
Okay. Brian, do you have any comment? You have your raised hand.
No, that was.
Yeah.
Good.
I just wanted to make the comment that, as far as I know, Lauren has not yet submitted the building permit application.
Okay.
So that may be an opportunity to refine these plans and ensure that those are set back appropriately. Just for something for you to consider.
Okay. All right, thank you. Scott?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
So
Okay.
I guess I'll make a motion to accept the to accept plans as indicated.
I'll second that motion to accept the drawings as submitted.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the application in Port 2023-0002, Brian Sweeney, 25 and a half Eastern Avenue, State, yay. All those in motion, please. Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Jonathan?
Aye.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jared's going to abstain. I'm going to say no because I want accurate drawings, but the motion does in fact pass. Scott, Harold, and Jonathan voted yay. The chairman voted no. And again, just the accuracy of the application to me does matter. So I'm sure with planning and zoning, this will get, building permit, it'll get sort of, make sure, it's within that particular setback, please. All right, new business. Next item on agenda is new business, Port 2023, Christopher Perez, 717 Chester Avenue, and it's remove existing boat lift and 2 pilings and install 8 new pilings and 2 new boat lifts. Let me go ahead, give me 1 second to open that up, if I may.
I have to make a note here, if I may, while you're opening that up, that I'm personally familiar with the I am personally familiar with the applicant, but that being said, I don't have a problem in adjudicating this fairly and without prejudice or bias.
Okay. Carrie, is there anything in particular of someone in this case?
Sorry, I'm here. I mean, he stated for the record, he said he's familiar. I don't know if that is friendly friends or what the connection is, but if there's no concern coming from the applicant either, or if the applicant has concerns, and certainly if there's no member of the community sort of in opposition to the application, then Harold isn't necessarily going to need to recuse himself. I will say if there's a concern and it's sort of teetering on that line, you do have enough people to have a quorum anyway without Harold's vote. So it could be better than safe than sorry, but it is ultimately up to you as the chair to decide whether or not Harold can continue to hear the application. And you can also ask him to provide more information as to what his connection is with the applicant, if that helps too.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with Harold participating in this equation. Do any other port wardens have an issue with it's a small town. We probably all know everyone else anyway. So I trust Harold in this equation. Does anyone else have an objection? Port warden have any objection? Okay. All right. Anyone planning to testify? Who is planning on testifying? Christopher, Joseph, or?
Joseph, you are. Okay, there we go.
Okay, all right. If you're planning to testify, please raise your right hand. All right. You do solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give the port wardens is the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you. As a preliminary matter, the board will accept into record the application packet, the staff report, planning and zoning, and any public comments. Brian, are there any public comments or any existing elements in play?
No, not at all.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right. Will the applicant or consultant please go ahead and let us know what?
Sure. Good evening, and thank you all for taking the time this evening. What we have before you is a project that proposes to remove 1 boat lift from an existing residential pier, and this will install 2 new boat lifts with 8 new boat lift piles at a maximum of 59 feet channel ward. There are no modifications to the pier. All of these improvements are within the setbacks and the harbor line. This pier used to be a commercial pier. It was actually part of the adjacent pier and was broke off under a state license to remove that section and make it a single residential pier. We did make an application to the state of Maryland back March 22nd of 2023. The state license number is 20GL 0878 for this application. To add the 2 boat lifts, this was actually a modification to the previous state license that was issued about 3 years ago to remove that section of pier. At that time, we did notify the neighbors of the project back in March. I believe that the neighbors were also notified once again for the Port Wardens hearing here today. We have not heard back from the adjacent neighbors. So we are under the impression that they've been notified and have no objections that we know of. And, if you have any questions.
As the chairman, I don't have any questions. It looks, relatively clean in the equation. You're well within the harbor line. You're well from the setback. The removal of the lift looks like it was pretty shallow back there as well. So I mean that I think you've freed up a good amount of space. I mean it's sort of a well laid out dock. Any other harbor masters have any questions?
On the
I do not.
the picture on page 6, the proposed aerial image, are those sort of the ghost boats you have representative of the boat that will dock there?
I would have to refer to Mr. Perez on his vessels that he plans to moor there. I believe they may be somewhat accurate, but I think what we've shown there is 41 foot. Mr. Perez, can you let us know what vessel you actually will moor there?
Yes, I'm looking at the scale of the drawing and trying to figure out the piling. I know that my pilings right now are 10 feet apart, and they're not going to be moved. That are the ones that are supporting the existing dock. My boat is 32 feet 8 inches long, so it appears in this drawing that it's fairly well scaled for slip number 2.
Okay.
Slip number 2 would accommodate my existing boat in the way that it's illustrated here.
Yeah, it looks like you've got 41.6 in total length with the ghost boats. So you look like you have plenty of space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming the boat on the right side is the same length as on the left side, but that's good.
Yeah, correct.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's right. Yeah, the boat, the existing boat will go on the inside of the existing structure there. It's actually going to go in slip number 2. Slip number 1 is for possible future use.
Okay. All right. And you've got some growth even to the harbor line. Not that you're going to take advantage of all of it, but you do have a little bit. All right, Harold, any questions or comments?
No questions.
All right. Scott?
I do not have any questions.
Okay. Jared, I'll include you after you get sworn in. Thank you. Sorry, I don't mean to leave you hanging. All right. All right. I believe all questions have been answered. I'm going to declare the public hearing Port 2023-0003 closed. As far as discussion of the criteria set to code, everything actually looks good. The setbacks, the harbor line, no issue with navigation, all the other elements, the titles that we're sort of have to focus on. I will entertain a motion to approve or deny the application for 2023-0003, Christopher Perez, 717 Chester Avenue. Is there, can we get
I'd
a
like to make that motion.
Okay,
Approve.
can I get a second?
Second, the
All
motion.
right, seconded by Jonathan, thank you. All those in favor of in favor to approve the motion in application for 2023-0003, state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Are any opposed? Okay. All four of us, Harold, myself, Jonathan, and Scott, have said yes. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, Mr. Perez and Mr. Lewis. All right, let's move to next item is port 2023-0005. There's 4 zeros. I apologize if I get 3, but 405 Philip Carr 900 Creek Drive, and remove an existing lift and 2 piles and install 8 new piles and 2 new boat lifts. Give me 1 second so I can open up the application. Okay, so anyone planning to, first of all, TV Tech, I believe you're bringing anyone willing in. Thank you very much. Okay, anyone planning to testify, please raise your right hand. All right, Mr. Schneider. You do solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give to the port wardens is the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, thank you very much. As a preliminary matter, the board will accept the record of the application of the packet and the staff report from planning and zoning and any public comments. Mr. Adams, are there any existing public comments?
There is not.
All right, thank you very much. All right, application consultant, Mr. Snyder, if you could go ahead and present
Wonderful.
the
Thank you.
application, that'd be great.
Thank you for all your time this evening. The applicant, Mr. Philip Carr, is seeking to remove 3 existing piles and install 4 new mooring piles in order to safely moor his 59-foot vessel. Let it be noted that all 4 of the proposed piles lie outside of the 5-foot lateral line setback. Additionally, notice of hearing signs were posted prior to June 13th and have received no objection from the surrounding neighbors. That's pretty straightforward. He's looking to essentially expand not his footprint, but remove the existing piles so that he can put in new piles to moor his new boat.
Okay. I don't have, I mean, it looks pretty clean to me. I assume he will make sure that in the image you're showing on page 5 shows his transom directly up against the end of the dock, such that it doesn't go over the harbor line. So I'm just assuming that's what his intent will be in the future. Otherwise, again, it looks good with setbacks. It's not really a radical change from prior. It's really more of a piling alteration, but none of them are going into new areas beyond his harbor line or setback. So I don't have any particular question. Any other port wardens? Let's, I guess, start with Harold.
I have no questions.
Okay, Jonathan.
No questions.
Okay, Scott.
Questions?
All right, thank you very much. Any more questions? I assume not. Okay, I declare the public hearing on port 2023-00005, the address closed. All right. As discussed, I mean, you meet all the criteria set by code. You're as far as 15.1880, your harbor line setback, 15.18.100, everything sort of is appropriate. It's piling, so I assume they're going to be, of substance and lasting. So I believe we're okay with all the traditional criteria or the Title 15 criteria. I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the application port 2023-00005, Mr. Carr, 900 Creek Drive. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
All right, Harold has made a motion. Can I get a second?
That.
Scott, you broke
I
up.
second that
but
motion. Yes, I second that motion.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you very much. All right, all those in favor of the motion to approve the application port 2023-00005, Philip Carr, 900 Creek Drive, please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and Scott, I'm assuming that was an aye. So I believe we have 4 all
Yes.
in favor. Thank you very much. I don't need to ask any opposed, but because all 4 of us who can vote have voted for it. All right, next item on the agenda is port 2023-00006, Brendan Keating, 23 Eastern Avenue, and wants to install a 6-foot wide by 30-foot wide long pier, 10-foot wide by 20-foot platform, 3 by 10 long finger pier, and 1 boat lift. Anyone planning on testify, please raise your right hand. Maddie, I guess we can bring Mrs. Heinsohn, I probably can't pronounce it, back in. Thank you. But Carrie, do we have, I'm sorry, Carrie, do we have to re-swear someone who's already sworn in the same meeting? Just as a matter.
I would, because you're swearing them in per application. So I would do
Gotcha.
it just in case.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Lauren. I got to do it again. All right. You do solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give to the port wardens is the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Please go ahead. Can you give me 1 second just so I can open the application? I do apologize.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Go. If you could please go ahead and present the application.
Sure. So this is an application for Brendan and Dory Keating, 23 Eastern Avenue. So Back Creek, mouth of Back Creek. They have a narrow property also next door to 25.5 Eastern. This proposal is for, so currently no pier. This is for a 6-foot wide by 30-foot long pier, and then a 10 wide by 20 long platform with a 3-foot wide by 10 long finger pier. And then a lift off of the finger pier with outside poles that would be positioned right up against the 5-foot setback line, so not to encroach into the setback area, and a PWC lift off of the land side platform area, 60 feet from the bulkhead from mean high water line, total encroachment, which is similar to the neighboring piers.
Gotcha. All right, and the lift on the outer side has outer pilings. It's a 4-point lift, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
good.
It's got
So
outside poles.
That's an easy setback thing because it's sort of fixed to within
Yes.
that. All right.
Yeah.
And then the lift for the PWC, jet ski, whatever it may be, is that a single point lift? Because is there
Single pole lift.
Okay. And I assume there'll be a piling on that corner. Again, that would be more probably building division. I just wanted to, okay.
Yes.
I really don't have any questions. I mean, it looks good. It's easy. It's definitely right against the setback, but it's well defined because of the outer pilings. Do any other port wardens have any questions?
I do not. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. Got that. Harold?
No questions here. Yeah, that just as a matter of interest, here on the bay is this week
Harold, I'm sorry,
Front,
you're breaking up
wave action, etc.
every
Am I?
fourth word or
That's a shame.
fifth
That's a
word,
shame.
you're breaking up a little.
I will speak slower. Just a matter of interest. Since you're right on the bay there, you are going to be facing a lot of wave action. Are you secure about putting it what's been constructed there to take the forces? Did you get me? Or
That's a great question. You're right. That is a unique spot. I think yes, I think I'm confident. We're all confident with what's been proposed here. Yes.
you're going to get beat up pretty good, pretty
Yeah.
good there.
It's a tough spot. You're right.
Okay.
The lifts will obviously
luck.
make all the difference. For you.
Yeah.
I mean, for the homeowner, the lifts should help, especially if they're high enough. I mean, because that does get pounded. But as far as the criteria we abide by, it's well within it. So that's Jonathan. Any questions?
I gotta ask. There is a part of the somewhere I read in the code that it should be like at any opportunity to share a pier that is encouraged. And so I'm just curious, since these two properties right next to each other, was there any attempt to try to share a dock space or pier or anything like that?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
I was not part of those conversations. I don't believe any conversations like that took place. I think that the various homeowners along this stretch are some of whom are new. So I think people are moving in and out of this area. So I don't think that conversation happened. No.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will note, Lauren, you do include the PWC lift diagram in it as the page 7 of 7, which is actually, is that the lift you'll be using for the jet ski or the personal watercraft?
I believe so, Mr. Shapiro. I do use just for permitting for the spec sheets. I use Magnum boat lifts spec. I know that there's various manufacturers that put out these single pile PWC lifts for the permitting spec. I usually include Magnums. So I think that's what was included in this application.
Okay, but they're not necessarily using that. Brian, with the building permit, do they have to use the exact one in the permit? I should know that, and I apologize, I don't. But when it goes
honestly,
to building,
I don't know. I can't say for sure, but my assumption would be with a permit like that, yes, it's got to be constructed to the plans.
okay.
I can get confirmation, but we need that level of detail.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is just a larger application process. This is not, typical is not what I hope we're working with. I hope we're working with what is actually planned on being implemented, just in the future. And that doesn't have to do with you, Lauren. I'm just saying, like, in general, I hope we're looking at, what is actually going to be going in, not what is typical. But what we can talk about that at some point. All right. Are there any other questions or parts of this discussion from any of the other port wards?
I have none.
Okay. All right. Harold, I see the head shake. Good. All right. I declare the public hearing on Port 2023-0006, address closed. Again, as far as criteria, it's within the setback, and the setback is well defined because of the outer piling. So that ends up becoming an easy equation. I assume their vessel will fit well within that 12.37 beam. And let's go ahead and I will entertain a motion to approve or deny the application port 2023-0006, Brendan Keating, 23 Eastern Avenue. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve the applicant.
All right, Harold, thank you. John, can I get a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you very much. All right, all those in favor of the motion to approve, all those in favor of the motion to approve the application in port 2023-0006, Brendan Keating, 23 Eastern Avenue, state aye or yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. No one to oppose, so we don't have to worry about that at this phase. Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next item. Thank you very much, Lauren. Next item on the agenda is port 2023-0008, Jabin's Family Real Estate, LLC, 7310 Edgewood Road. And it's a replacing kind existing travel pier. It's 3 feet by 48 feet and 3 by 56, an existing irregular shaped pier, which is 175.5 long by 6 feet and 9.5 and 12 feet wide. An existing gangway, which is 4 by 25. We have everyone in. Anyone planning to testify, please raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. All right, you do solemnly swear or affirm under penalty or perjury that the testimony you are about to give to the Port Wardens is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you, Rod, Roddy, and Dan. All right, as a preliminary matter, the board will accept it into record, the application packet, the staff report from planning and zoning, and any public comments. Mr. Adams, are there any existing public comments?
No, there are not.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I assume Mr. Larian, I shouldn't assume, who is going to present the application?
I'm going to present, Robert.
Okay, Mr. Jabin, thank you. Please, go ahead.
So thank you for the opportunity to present here tonight. There's 3 things going on here. The first is we are going to replace the travel lift runways that have in kind that have been in existence since 1978. So they're getting to be about 45 years old, the pilings under there. And just as a matter of good maintenance and good management practices, we want to replace the pilings underneath those travel lift runways, not changing the dimensions at all, just replacing the pilings underneath. And then along with that, we are going to replace in kind the pier, the fixed pier, which is roughly 197 feet from the bulkhead, to replace that same sort of construction time period. About 1978, that pier went in, and so those pilings have just about been used up. And so we're going to replace that in kind, not changing any dimensions or any of the configurations. And then finally, the last bit is just to replace the gangway ramp down to the existing floating dock, which will remain as it is existing. No work is going to go on with the floating dock there. It's just the replacement of the fixed pier and the travel lift runways. And that is that's the scope of work.
Okay, thank you. Dan or Roddy, any more comments or no? Okay, all right. To me, this is great. Dan, thank you for the accuracy with the application.
Yes, sir.
It helps before we get into these to see it so well laid out as you're gonna actually be installing it. So thank you very much. I don't have any questions at this point. Any port wardens? Harold, do you have any questions?
Just a general question. All that seems to be fairly old here, 40 years. How's the bulkhead itself?
The bulkhead's been replaced in a prior time, and Dan, you can help me. Probably inside of 12 years ago, we replaced all of that concrete area there in front of travel lift 1, travel lift 2, and travel lift 3. That in front of travel lift 3, we did a lot of work, probably about maybe 10 years ago to build that particular runway for our biggest travel lift. And that's when Dan replaced the bulkhead in kind and replaced that. So that bulkhead area is in really good shape, very current. So we're very happy with the condition of that.
So there's to be no adjustments at all in the bulkhead.
No, sir. No adjustments to the bulkhead. Dan should be able to come back and lay and tie back into the existing concrete deck that's there as the pier meets the shoreline.
Okay. Harold, do you have any more questions?
I'm done.
Okay. Jonathan?
Just curious, are the I can't tell the materials used. Are you using wood for the travel lift piers, or are you using like concrete or something?
No, it's wood and steel. So
Okay.
there'll be Class B pressure treated pilings underneath 12 by 12 pressure treated stringers, and then a 12-inch by 36-inch wide timber mat laid on the stringers, and then a steel H-beam laid on top of that. So pretty heavily fortified to withstand the loads of the travel lift and whatnot. So it's basically wood and steel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
All right. Scott, do you have any questions?
I don't. It's pretty straightforward.
All right, great. All right. Let me move on to, so I believe I can declare the public hearing on port 2023-0008 closed. Again, as far as compliance, you're doing it in kind, and you're well within the harbor line and the setbacks. You sort of own most of the sides of where this work is being done. So I don't see an issue. Obviously, it's well laid out as far as the materials, and you're not an issue to navigation, all the rest. I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the application, port 2023-008, Jabins Family Real Estate, 7310. All right.
I'll make
Scott,
that motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second the motion to approve.
All right, Jonathan seconded that. Thank you. All right, all in favor of the motion to approve the application, port 2023-008. Please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have all 4 ayes of the voting port wardens. No one to oppose. So the motion passes. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, John.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move to any miscellaneous. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah, I have a question for you. It would help, when we have different people coming in and testifying. For example, the lady that was just there, Lauren, it'd be nice to know what their position is. Are they an attorney? Are they just an individual, or are they the construction person? When they're sworn in, can you ask who they are, not just their name?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know who they. You know some of the people from years ago, perhaps, but we don't know who they are, and at what level we can talk to them, whether they're an attorney or not.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. And I do recall in the way beginning, we would sometimes ask the criteria or the the certifications that a particular consultant may have had, or, whether they were the owner or the consultant. We can tell by the application, of course, if they're the owner or consultant, but I agree with you, Harold, and I can add that
Yeah.
to the equation. I'll probably talk to Carrie about the right language as far as requesting. But yeah, that's not a bad idea at all.
Very good. Welcome,
And I think-
Jared.
Welcome, Jared. And we also have to admit all the exhibits to the staff report, correct?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little, Scott. Can you repeat
Don't
that?
we have to admit all the exhibits to the staff report like we did last week? We always forget that.
Carrie, don't I cover that when we ask Brian?
Generally, I mean, well, in the most recent application, I think you just asked Brian if there are any public comments, but you should accept into the record the staff report, and then if there's any public comments, the public comments all can be entered into the record as well. But there should be sort of a
And Scott, after every application, because I have a script to help me not screw up, I actually do say, as a preliminary matter, the board will accept into public record the application packet and the staff report from planning and zoning and any public comments.
Okay, good.
So
Thank you.
I did state that in every single port number that we went over tonight.
Oh,
So I
great. They were
think that
covered.
covers.
Sounds like it.
Go ahead, Scott.
No, I think that's great.
Okay. All right. I assume there's no more miscellaneous that we're dealing with. Miscellaneous. All right. There being no other items on the agenda, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Scott, thank you very much. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers.
Have a good
Have a good night. Once again,
Thank you,
Jared,
everybody.
welcome.
Bye.